Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends of the Henry Term Class of 2014, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, the faculty, and the staff of the Nashville School of Law, we welcome you to the Nashville School of Law's 105th graduation ceremony. We are delighted that you have joined us to recognize and honor our students who are graduating today. The degrees that we are about to confer and the diplomas we are about to bestow are tangible rewards for the work and sacrifices that these students, as well as their family, friends, and employers, throughout the students' years of study and class attendance at night. All of us are appropriately proud of the Henry Term Class of 2014. Our school is fueled by the vision of 5 members of our Board of Trustees, and we are delighted that 4 of them are with us this morning. Please recognize and thank Tom Cohn, the chair of our board, the Honorable Frank Clement, the Honorable Frank F. Derwoda III, and Douglas Fisher. Our students, and therefore our school's success, rests in the hands of the dedicated men and women of our faculty. Each of these distinguished lawyers and judges have accepted the challenge, some for many years, of using their knowledge, wisdom, and experience to prepare their students for successful and rewarding careers. We are fortunate to have many of the faculty with us today. I would appreciate it if each member of the faculty would stand when I call your name and remain standing until all the faculty are recognized. The Honorable Don Ash, Daniel Barexa, Deweese Berry, the Honorable David Bragg, the Honorable Joe B. Brown, Thomas Carlton, Laura Chastain, Nancy Corley, Jimmy Creasy, the Honorable Steve Daniel, the Honorable Marshall Davidson, Eddie Davidson, the Honorable R.E. Lee Davies, Jeff DeVasier, Harlan Dotson, Laura Dykes, the Honorable Mark Fishburne, Eileen Githens, William L. Harbison, Andra Hedrick, Cal Halou, Candy Henry, Henry E. Hildebrand, Trevor Howell, David Hudson, the Honorable Randy Kennedy, John D. Kitch, the Honorable Carlton Lewis, John W. Lewis, Patrick McHale, Jeff Mobley, Diane Neal, the Honorable Jerry L. Smith, M. Clark Spoden, Wesley D. Turner, and Mark Westlake. Please acknowledge and thank the faculty. Our students and faculty go about their work in an environment created and maintained by our efficient and experienced staff. The doors would not open, the lights would not be turned on, and the business of the school would not be done without these dedicated men and women. This ceremony today is the result of their planning and hard work. To enable us to thank them properly, I would appreciate it if Stacy Angelo, Luther Cantrell, Heather Carr, Susan Doolin, Sharonda Green, Robin Harrell, Chip Loser, Beth McDonald, and Walter Taylor would stand and be recognized at this time. It is now my honor to introduce our keynote speaker today, Justice Jeff Bivens. If one word were used to describe Tennessee Supreme Court Justice Jeff Bivens, that word would be committed. During his 28 years at the bar, Justice Bivens has demonstrated his commitment to our legal system. His actions reflect his commitment to the highest principles of civility and professionalism. His leadership of the Tennessee Judicial Conference underscores his commitment to empowering Tennessee's judges to pursue efficiency and excellence. Closer to home, his involvement in the affairs of Williamson County, the city of Franklin, the Girls Softball Association of Franklin, and the Franklin Christian Church testify to his commitment to his community, his church, and his family. A native of Kingsport, Justice Bivens obtained his baccalaureate degree from East Tennessee State University and then headed west to attend law school at Vanderbilt. He and his wife, Gail, have made their home in Franklin and have raised 2 daughters there. While Justice Bivens may be relatively new to the Tennessee Supreme Court, he's not new to the judiciary. He first took the bench as a circuit judge in the 21st Circuit Judicial District in 1999. After a short, unplanned detour to private practice, he returned to the 21st Circuit bench in 2005. In 2011, Governor Bill Haslam appointed him to the Tennessee Court of Criminal Appeals, and 3 years later, in 2014, Justice Haslam appointed him to the Tennessee Supreme Court. During his service on the bench, Justice Bivens has authored more than 250 opinions, and these opinions again reflect his commitment to mastering the facts, writing clearly, and fairly applying the law. While on the trial bench, Justice Bivens also demonstrated the ability to think quickly and grace under fire. During one particular arraignment of a gentleman who had been charged with murder, the defendant turned his back on Judge Bivens and began singing a song. The words of that song were to the effect of, "I'm not listening, Mr. Bivens. I don't care, Mr. Bivens." And the later stanzas of the song cannot be repeated in a polite gathering like this. You might imagine that judges don't often encounter this sort of behavior in court. But Judge Bivens was unfazed. He coolly found that the defendant understood his rights, appointed him attorney, and then announced that anyone who could bait a judge as good as that knew exactly what was going on. Well, Justice Bivens, I'm quite confident that you will not encounter that sort of behavior today. We all appreciate your joining us, and we welcome you to the podium to address our graduates and their family and friends.
Thank you, Dean Koch. It is a pleasure to be here, quite an honor. And I will say, with regard to that defendant, he was quite creative. I don't think I have ever heard the F word used as a noun, verb, and adjective in the same sentence. Again, thank you for having me here today. I do want to say that as a person who has sat through a number of these, I do like to follow the KISS principle, which is keep it simple, stupid. So I promise not to be here too long. Dean Koch suggested that I speak for 10 to 15 minutes. So by lawyer time, that means a good 45 minutes. So I promise you won't hear me for more than the 45 minutes here today. Graduates, you have reached a true milestone today. You have every right to be proud. All of that hard work, the late night papers, pushing to show up for that class after an exhausting day at work, suffering through that evil constitutional law exam from Dean Koch. You have successfully persevered through it all, and this is your day. My heartfelt congratulations go out not only to you graduates here today, but also the friends and family members that are here to celebrate with you. None of us, particularly you as a graduate, should forget the many sacrifices made by others, be it your spouse, children, parents, friends, or other family members. Over the next few minutes, I would like to offer some food for thought as you begin a new chapter in your career and in your life as a whole. In my opinion, you now are entering a noble profession. Over many, many years, the practice of law long has been recognized as a noble profession. Despite the impressions of some, and, quite frankly, some self-inflicted wounds on occasion,
I suggest that it's still so today. I challenge you here today to join with me as we try to maintain and indeed advance the notion that ours remains and will continue to be a noble profession. How you conduct yourself in the coming days, weeks, months, and years will determine whether you will be a true asset to this cause and whether you help us to respond to this challenge. Your conduct will demonstrate your character and integrity. I submit to you that without the highest of moral character and without impeccable integrity, you cannot fulfill this challenge. With that in mind, I would ask you to allow me here today to offer some thought about a possible framework for you to consider as you move into the next chapter of your profession and your life. As I thought about this topic, I realized that I needed to look for some words of wisdom to leave you with. I immediately knew that I certainly was not smart enough to come up with those words myself. So I began to look around for appropriate guidance from recognized leaders in our country. After a good deal of research, I settled upon some advice and guidance from an old basketball coach. Hopefully, even those of you who are younger will have heard of John Wooden. Those of us from my generation older will certainly know of the legendary coach. John Wooden was best known as the head basketball coach of the University of California at Los Angeles, UCLA. Coach Wooden died about 4 years ago, just short of his 100th birthday. But he leaves a legacy that I believe will never be equaled. He is a true, genuine American hero. He is generally recognized as the greatest men's basketball coach in the history of the game. Coach Wooden won 10 NCAA titles during his last 12 seasons at UCLA, including 7 in a row from 1967 to 1973, which was his last year of coaching. His UCLA teams also had a record winning streak of 88 games and 4 perfect 30-0 seasons. Yet despite his successes on the court, Coach Wooden's more important legacy is a man of character and as a leader and developer of men. Evidence of his character was replete throughout his career. Contrary to many unfortunate examples we see today of hypocritical leaders that say one thing and do another, Coach Wooden was nothing of the sort. A prime example of his character became clear while he was the head coach of what is now Indiana State University, where he coached prior to moving to UCLA. In 1947, Indiana State won the Indiana Intercollegiate Conference title and received an invitation to play in the National Association of Intercollegiate Basketball, at that time NAIB, national tournament. Rather than simply accepting the accolades and participating in the tournament, Coach Wooden refused this invitation because the NAIB had a policy banning African American players. Coach Wooden had an African American player on his team. The next year, Coach Wooden's team again won the conference title. During that year, the NAIB had reversed its policy of banning African American players. Thus, one of Wooden's players, Clarence Walker, became the first African American to play in any postseason intercollegiate basketball tournament. My friends, remember, this was 1948, long before the beginning of the civil rights movement in our country, and almost 20 years before an African American athlete would play on a Southeastern Conference athletic team. After retiring from coaching, Wooden became a recognized author of books on leadership, mentorship, and character. In many ways, Coach Wooden was a simple man, and his advice on facing the worldly issues in today's world never changed with the times. His advice always began with the recitation of 7 guiding principles that he followed, taught, and espoused since they were given to him by his father as a teenager. These 7 simple principles clearly have withstood the test of time throughout Coach Wooden's life and beyond. Graduates, a review of these 7 guiding principles are the words of wisdom I want to leave you with here today. These 7 principles are as follows. Be true to yourself. Help others. Make each day your masterpiece. Drink deeply from good books. Make friendship a fine art. Build a shelter against a rainy day. And pray for guidance and count and give thanks for your blessings every day. What does each of these mean in today's context? Let's examine each a little closer. Be true to yourself. Are you honest with yourself? Are you honest with other people? How can you possibly be true to yourself if you cannot be true to others? Your spouse,
your family, your coworkers, your boss, and your friends. You must have the courage to be true to yourself. Help others. It is critical to understand that this principle is talking about helping others with no thought of getting something in return. Coach Wooden says that, quote, you can never acquire happiness without giving of yourself to someone else without expectation of getting something back. Make each day your masterpiece. Coach Wooden points out that too often we get distracted by what is outside of our control. You cannot do anything about yesterday. It is gone. And you can do nothing about tomorrow. It is yet to come. But you do have control over today. Drink deeply from good books. All great books will greatly enrich your life, and there are so many easily available to you. Coach Wooden's favorite book was his Bible. No matter what good books you prefer, if you follow this adage, you will truly enrich yourself. Make friendship a fine art. You must not take friendship for granted. Friendship requires work. It is giving and sharing of yourself. Being a friend does not simply mean always saying yes and doing good things for each other. True friendship also means holding that friend accountable. It means having that tough conversation from time to time, as well as being there when your friends need you, whether it is convenient for you or not. Build a shelter against a rainy day. Graduates, we all will face rainy days from time to time. For many people, faith provides that shelter. As you go forward here today, you inevitably will face major temptations as you go forward in your career and in your personal life. It is your responsibility to build that strong shelter through whatever resources you can marshal to help you weather those rainy days. What you cannot do is to be unprepared for those rainy days. Pray for guidance and count and give thanks for your blessings every day. All too often, we fail to give thanks for blessings that we overlook. We simply take them for granted, large and small. As Wooden notes, a wise person once observed, how much more pleasant this world would be if we magnified our blessings the way we magnify our disappointments. So there you have it, graduates, 7 relatively simple principles that present you with a common sense framework for your consideration as you move forward into the next chapters of your professional and personal lives. As I close here today, I want to focus on one particular character trait of Coach Wooden, that of humility. With that in mind, I want to mention one more person that I believe to be another true American hero. That person is former United States Senator from Tennessee, Senator Howard Baker. Howard Baker recently passed away, and unfortunately, many of you, again, may be too young to know a lot about Howard Baker. First and foremost, Howard Baker was a member of our profession and was an outstanding lawyer. From his successful law practice, he went on to be United States Senator from Tennessee for many years. He even became the majority leader of the United States Senate. After his Senate career, he was a serious candidate for president, served as Chief of Staff to President Ronald Reagan, and as U.S. Ambassador to Japan. Despite all these high honors, there is one trait that most would use to describe Howard Baker throughout his career: humility. He consistently demonstrated humility in both his personal and professional life, regardless of his accomplishments. Graduates, I suggest to you that unless you remain humble, you will never succeed in demonstrating that high moral character and impeccable reputation that we have been discussing. If persons as successful as Coach John Wooden and Senator Howard Baker can demonstrate humility through their careers and lives, I suggest to you that it is not asking too much of us to do the same. As you leave here today, wear the badge of a law school graduate with honor and pride. It is truly a remarkable accomplishment for which all of us are proud of you. But with this badge of honor comes accountability and a new level of personal responsibility. I have no doubt that you are up to this challenge. Congratulations again, and best of luck to you. May God truly bless each and every one of you.
Thank you, Justice Bivens. We really appreciate your being here today, and we have a small token of our appreciation, which you don't have to open on the stage, but it's a rendering of your official home, and we wish you many years of happiness, of fulfillment, and of administering justice.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
The Honorable Society of Cooper's Inn is comprised of graduates who have distinguished themselves in their studies by graduating in the top 10% of their class. I request that each inductee stand and be recognized and remain standing when I call your name. Ernie Everton Gilks III, Heather Curtis Momchaloff, Jared Mullins, Pamela Lynn Williams, and Timothy William Wilson. Congratulations. The Founders Award is given to the student who has earned the highest overall grade point average in the graduating class. Be it known that this year's Henry Term recipient of the Founders Award is Timothy William Wilson. The school also confers the Moot Court Award on the member of the graduating class who has demonstrated outstanding preparation, presentation, and performance in the courtroom. The recipient of this year's award is Brittany A. Finn. Ladies and gentlemen of the Henry Term graduating class of 2014, will you please stand? By the authority vested in me as the 5th Dean of the Nashville School of Law, I hereby declare that each of these graduates are awarded the degree of Juris Doctor on this 6th day of December 2014. Congratulations.
Zager Ali. John Stephen Ament, Jr. Misty Welch Beecham. Belinda Lynette Bell. Taylor Eastman Brandon. Marshall W. Butler. William Ray Kane, Jr. John Owen Compton. Beverly Ann Connor. Andrew Thomas Cook. D. Michael Craig. William Brian Cruz. Stephen Paul Disser. Brittany A. Finn. Janine Marie Floyd. Lori L. Gallion John. Derek Lane Garner. Ernie Everton Gilks III. Jeanette Isbell Going. James Matthew Goiney. Charles Anthony Graves, Jr. Brian Hammers. Ryan Adam Haynes. Christopher Vaughn Hudson. Rebecca Page Hunter. Hannah Wood Lee. Karen Louise Lewis. Jamie Lee Lawrence. Michael David Martin. Catherine Teresa Meekus. Laura Catherine Melton. Daniel Craig Miller. Tony Odell Miller. Sheila Younglove Minor. Heather Curlis Momchaloff. Jared W. Mullins. Bradley Howard Murph. Lee Ellen Oliver. William Edward Porter IV. Lewis Madison Rickey. Fatima Elaine Robertson. Christopher David Rogers. John Michael Schleicher. Nicholas Boyd Snyder. Stephanie Danielle Stamper. Wayne Allen Suter. Stephen Barry Teeters. Ashley Lanice Travis. Pamela Lynn Williams. Timothy William Wilson. Eric Vincent Wood. Jessica Fuson Young. Congratulations.
Ms. Andra Hedrick is a partner in the Nashville firm of Gullett, Sanford, Robinson, and Martin. She is recognized by the best lawyers in America for her expertise in trusts and estates law, and we are fortunate to have her as one of our distinguished instructors in estate planning. Today she is representing our faculty to say a few words to our newly minted graduates. Ms. Hedrick.
Graduating students, it's such an honor to be here to address you on an important occasion. And it's great to see that all the family members are here to celebrate with you. First, let me speak directly to the husbands and wives of our graduates. No doubt the last few years have been toughest on you. With your law student spouses juggling the responsibilities of work and school, this left little time for you. Fortunately, your suffering has not been in vain. There's a cause of action in the law called loss of consortium. Write this down and look into it. Consortium, C-O-N-S-O-R-T-I-U-M. Next, to the mommies, daddies, grandparents, aunts, and uncles, all in the back, I congratulate you today. You now have a lawyer in the family. And by showing up at today's commencement ceremonies, you've earned the right to free legal representation for life. So go ahead, program your lawyer's number into your speed dial, call it and call it often. Now to the less successful siblings in the room. For you, I have only one question. Don't you wish you'd gone to medical school? And finally, some advice for the graduates. I'm pretty sure this is the part of the program where I'm supposed to say something profound and inspiring. I thought really hard about this. But unfortunately, I have nothing profound and inspiring to say. So instead, I thought about all of the things that I wish someone had told me on my graduation day. And then I sat down and I wrote a letter to myself. And I'd like to share it with you today. Here's the letter. I'm opening it for dramatic effect. The letter provides, May 9th, 1998, and I had to actually look that up because I didn't remember. Dear Andra, you're graduating from law school today. I have bad news for you. The practice of law is hard, and at times it will make you miserable. You'll make many mistakes, and some will be terribly embarrassing. Fortunately, I'm here to help. Follow these 10 simple tips and you'll be just fine. Tip number 1. First, take off those heels and put on a pair of flats. Do you really want to be that student who falls at graduation? I don't. So I followed my own advice. But I'm really impressed. I saw that not everyone followed that advice, and everyone did very well. Congratulations. Tip number 2. Yes, I know you have an excellent resume and you're really proud of it. But I advise not printing it on that pretty pink paper that you love so much. I assure you, your employers will not be impressed. They'll only just think you're weird. Tip 3. When you head out for job interviews, take an umbrella. In fact, take the biggest one you can find. Trust me on this one. Tip 4. When you get your first real job, don't run out and buy a new car. Just don't do it. Let me remind you that you're poor. You are dirt poor. And guess what? Repayment of student loans starts today. When you land a job at a law firm, please study the names and the photos of the partners carefully. There's no excuse for calling one partner by the name of another partner, even if they do all kind of look alike. That really happened. At your first solo hearing, take the time to look at the county listed on the paperwork, please. Trust me, you're going to feel like such an idiot if you sit for 2 hours in Davidson County when really you were supposed to be in Williamson County. And that really happened too, and Judge Clement was there. True. Number 7, from time to time you will get calls from a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, or an uncle. When this happens, ask yourself or ask them 3 very important questions. Number 1, is anyone hurt? Number 2, is anyone in the hospital? Number 3, is anyone dead? If the answer to these 3 questions is no, hang up and hang up immediately. Never ever do free legal work for a relative. No good ever comes of it. Number 8. This really happened too, and Judge Kennedy was there on that one. When you enter a courtroom, turn your phone on silent. Remember, your phone has multiple ringtones for different purposes. Turn them off. Turn them all off. None of us want to hear Funky Town ring out in the middle of a hearing. Number 9, we're almost there. If you're asked to teach, and this is directly to the students, by the way. If you're asked to teach at the Nashville School of Law, heed this advice. On all exam days, be sure and take the stairs instead of the elevator. The students will absolutely lose their minds if you arrive late on exam day. And I can tell you from personal experience that it takes at least 30 minutes to get someone freed out of an elevator. And finally, number 10, above all else, this is the serious one, really. Above all else, cherish every day you have as a lawyer. It is such a privilege to get to do what we do. You need to be grateful, 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 even on the days that seem to be miserable. And don't be belly aching that this job is hard. Of course it's hard. It should be hard. Otherwise, your sister could be doing it. Thank you. So, graduates, my hope is that by sharing this pitifully embarrassing letter is that you'll avoid my embarrassing mistakes. I congratulate you on your achievement, and I wish you the very best of luck on the bar exam.
As you might imagine, each of our 54 graduates could recount their experiences as students at the Nashville School of Law in different ways and in different voices. Each graduate's story is worthy of telling, but time constraints do not permit that. Wayne Suter has been selected to provide some brief parting words on behalf of his classmates. Mr. Suter, the podium is yours.
I'm going to keep this with me here at the podium. In fact, I may hang on to this all day. I've learned a few things here even yet today. Fortunately, I have sensible shoes. I took the stairs. I have no pink paper. But my sister really could have done this. In February of 2011, 126 people started a journey. We're here today to celebrate a significant milestone, but not the end of that journey. But this is a significant milestone. For over 100 years, the Nashville School of Law has offered the best value in legal education anywhere. And I know I speak for my fellow graduates, because we were talking about this down in the room where we were all getting dressed, that we're proud to stand here today and really appreciative of the opportunity to wear these robes and hood. But let's rewind this a little bit. Back to that February cold day in 2011. We'd all heard that law school would be hard, and it was. You know, they have these incredibly big books with fine print. And these folks over here seem to expect you to read every word. And when queried, I got a simple, "What? Who do you know that would want to hire a stupid lawyer?" That was a pretty humbling experience. Now, real terror struck when you're first asked to brief a case. And anybody from the faculty, I'll bet even Justice Bivens, Justice Koch can tell you the first case they briefed. But we learned a lot that first year. First thing we learned, day one, a tort is not a small dessert. A few days later, we learned that a peppercorn, a mere peppercorn, is sufficient consideration to form a contract. We also learned that David Hudson knows more five-syllable words than anybody on the planet. And he may be the only man I've ever met that knows how to use every one of them correctly and make me feel very humble. We also learned that applying the law can be an incredibly intimidating process. It's complex and it's complicated. Like you said, if it was easy, they'd send little people with a note. It's our job to guide people through that process. We learned from Mr. Barry that fee simple simply isn't simple. And from Patrick McHale, we learned that a conflict of laws does not necessarily cause or resolve any conflict. And I personally learned something from Mr. Spoden. Now, Mr. Spoden is the most prepared man I've ever met. Phenomenal presentations, obscure little references that are not available anywhere, and he will not reveal his sources. As a remedy, I have agreed never again in my life to take a picture of one of his presentation slides. And all of my fellow students that are chuckling know exactly what I mean. We also learned that evidence may be the most singular, incomprehensible subject known to man. However, that may just be hearsay, and you may feel free to impeach my testimony if you can remember that rule number. We also learned the old adage, where there's a will, there's a way. However, that applies in Tennessee only if you follow very carefully all of those rules with phenomenal attention to procedure and detail. And we also learned a valuable lesson. Any test, and I mean any test, given by Justice William Koch, that's going to be a bear no matter how hard you study. One of the most important things we learned is that the law is not black and white. The law is filled with infinite shades of gray, and we must always look to the statutes, the common law, and any testimony you can get actually admitted over all of those endless hearsay objections. We also learned in moot court and reinforced through many of our other classes that adversary does not mean enemy. We have an adversarial system. Many of these students will face each other in court someday, and our legal opponents are colleagues worthy of respect. We must learn to separate the cases from our colleagues, because pretty soon we're going to be on the losing side. Now, we also learned from Mr. Barexa that in the courtroom there is no substitute for preparation, and absolutely no excuse not to be fully prepared. That's one of the things that makes law practice hard. There's never enough time. There's always too much to do, and you never know exactly what the facts were. But we learned a much more important lesson throughout that. We learned that by working together as a team, we could accomplish anything. The fact that all of these fine men and women are wearing hoods today really demonstrates the profundity of that truth. Now, little of merit is accomplished in this world without sacrifices. There's been a lot of sacrifices made. And I'm going to plagiarize Justice Bivens here, because one of the things we said down this morning in the room is that the practice of law is really just organized plagiarism. Okay? Every student here today, their spouses, their children, their loved ones, their employers, and for a lot of them, their creditors, made sacrifices. And not everyone that started this journey is here with us today. Of that 126 people that started, we have 54. Some because of family situations, some because of academic struggles, and several will follow us sometime in the future because they've had to change their plan. Jim Cook isn't with us here today because he was taken from us too soon. Though we grieve with his family, this is a day for joy. We wish he was here. He would have made a fine attorney and a great asset to the state of Tennessee. But we want to give thanks here today. Thank you to the faculty. These fine men and women, they give of themselves not for the compensation they receive, because I've learned what that is. And every one of these people could do better, hourly rate. But they do it because they got a passion. I've been truly, truly blessed to work with fine people. Laura Dykes, Public Defender's Office. Got to do an internship with her. It amazed me second day on the job when she says, "Wayne, handle this hearing, probation violation." What should I say? Oh, just handle it. That's terror. Now, I also want to thank the office staff. They kept us on track. We couldn't have done it without you. I don't know how many of you know that Robin Harrell is there every night till 10 o'clock. Every night. How'd you like to go to school? Go to work every night till 10 o'clock. She just does it all the time, and everybody on the staff answers our endless phone calls. I promise not to call too much anymore. We'd like to give thanks to the late Dean Lozier for guiding the Nashville School of Law through some difficult times, but creating a good foundation. For the leadership of our new leader, lawyer, judge, justice, about any other title and acronym you can think of, for our new dean, William Koch. I am convinced, as I have spoken with some of my fellow students, and they echo that his passionate leadership means clearly that the best days of the Nashville School of Law are yet to come. And by the way, those food trucks were a pretty good idea too. We've been given a great opportunity. The practice of law is a tremendous privilege. And to coin a rather cheesy movie, with great comes great responsibility. We have a great responsibility. And I want to challenge every one of my fellow students to use your legal education to help the downtrodden, the less fortunate. Take the pro bono stuff serious. Jeannie Goen she's found her calling. She's already using her education to further benefits to people in other countries. She's doing tremendous things. I challenge each one of my fellow students to reach out and be part of the community. But I also challenge you to look back and never forget where you came from. I'd like to challenge each of you to be an active member in the Nashville School of Law alumni. I am confident that Justice Koch will make the call. I, for one, pledge to always answer, and I hope you will as well. In in conclusion, I'd like to say thank you once more. First of all, thank you to my beautiful wife. Thank you to the family members here today, because you are the ones that made all of this possible. We're getting the glory, wearing the robes, but the families very much made the sacrifice. It's a joint effort. Thank you once more to the faculty. More important than all of that, thank God we passed constitutional law.
Well, as the ceremony nears its end, I want to just add a few brief words to the graduating class. Ladies and gentlemen, you are the true dreamers in this room. 4 or more years ago, each of you responded to a call from within. To be sure, it's very similar to a call that many in this room have heard before you and answered. But the important thing is that each of you answered the call to set you on the path that brought you here today. Each of you began your studies at the National School of Law, I suspect, with humility, awe, and perhaps a sense of intimidation at the task you had taken on. Your class is distinguished today by what distinguished all of you when you began: a unique combination of intellectual curiosity and passion, the camaraderie of sharing a common goal, and the remarkable diversity of backgrounds, talents, and ambitions that each of you have. During your time at the school, you have made the place your own, and each of you has left your mark on the school in many ways. You have studied the law with intensity and purpose, and now you have before you the diversity of opportunities that your law degree will open up. Our goal at the school has been to give each of you opportunities to experience yourselves as capable and effective men and women. You are and should be more self-confident today than you were when you started law school. The faculty and I hope that we have given you the confidence in yourselves to believe deep in your souls that you matter, and that your responses to the challenges that await you will change the world. Your legal training, even if you decide not to engage in a traditional practice, equips you to resolve disputes rationally and fairly without resorting to force or brutality or trickery. Lawyers defend the Constitution. They advocate just causes. They are the guardians of our liberties. They are the protectors of the powerless, and they are the wise counselors of our society. Our society, as great as it may be, is still a work in progress. It is still the American dream that we will leave our children and grandchildren a country and a world that were better than the one that was left to us. Your training empowers and requires you to look up from your law books and computer terminals, from the demands of your own career, and from your daily life, and as Robert Kennedy said many years ago, imagine what the world can be, and then set about changing it. Your communities need you to aspire to do great things. They need you to advance the law and the cause of justice. They need you to help find solutions to difficult problems. They need you to increase the sum of humanity. And so I end today with another challenge to you. Plunge deeply into the practice of law. Join your colleagues in this most noble profession as they work little by little toward a more justice and humane society. With these thoughts and with my warmest regards, members of the 2014 Henry Term class, you now have my congratulations and best wishes. And if you would all rise, we will have a benediction delivered by Ms. Fatima Robertson.
If you would, please bow as I pray. Our Heavenly Father, it is through your grace and mercy that we are here today, celebrating a day that we have longed to achieve. As we look toward the future, Bright Hopes conducts this prayer. Today is a graduation, a passage, and a completion for us. We have met the challenge and gained the knowledge of our study. We ask that you lead us so that our education, knowledge, and skill may find their true fulfillment. Help us to remember the happy times we've had so far, the people we have met who will always be a part of life and we will never quite forget. We thank you for the administration and faculty here at the Nashville School of Law for their work. They have built us up, strengthened our spirits, and inspired our imaginations for learning and being, for which we are thankful. We thank you for our families and friends. They have supported us and stood by us throughout this journey. As we leave this stage of our lives and with each new day that comes, we ask that we be guided and helped to choose the right path to make the best of the gifts that we have been given. We ask and thank you for these things in your blessed and holy name above all names. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the graduation ceremony for the Henry Term class of 2014 is completed.